All right, welcome to our work session for December 2nd. Who in the world believes we're in December? But we are. We have no board or commission interviews tonight, so we're gonna start right out with reviewing the regular agenda. Is there anything anyone has to review on the regular agenda?
No.
No? All right, then we're gonna move right along to updates from council members and others. And so Katie, we're gonna start with you this time.
No, thank you, Mayor.
That was a good place to start, you know?
I have nothing.
Marie,
You did start from the opposite side.
why not? Let's switch it up a little bit.
One thing, hopefully you all clicked on the snow pass link sometime over the snow period, our first time actually rolling it out. It worked pretty good for our first try. There were a couple of glitches. It didn't pick up all of the areas, so we're working on that. But what a great tool for residents, business owners to see where the snow plows out. So huge thanks to Public Works and park staff for all the work they did during this snow event. We know there will be more.
Cold. Thank you.
No updates, Mayor.
David.
The library board met this past month, and as I indicated, they are looking at a potential bond or certificate of debt service levy or a potential tax rate increase. They have some issues, not with their operating costs, but with the building itself. It's obviously an old building, and then the addition that was done in 2007, 2008 has issues, particularly the roof, and then the HVAC system has also gone out. I don't believe that the majority of the library has heating right now. So I think they're in the process of ensuring that they have heating. And that is, the library board did approve spending money from their reserves in order to get that going. But that on top of the roof, it's going to be an expensive endeavor. So they are going to have a special meeting in December, on December 17th. Related to potentially going out for either a bond, debt service levy, or a tax increase, or none of the above. Particularly given what we're doing, county might do, the school district. So just to keep that on your radar, it's a really important issue. The Webster Times, I've contacted them. They have all the materials from Stiefel, and they will be reporting upon this, and will be at the December meeting. But obviously, I think this is an important facet of our community, and I think it often gets overlooked. And I think it's unique in the aspect that it has its own taxing district, unlike other libraries in the community or in the region. So I have the pamphlet or the materials that Stiefel gave us. I'm happy to share them with you guys. But there'll be more because the board requested additional options to discuss on December 17th.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
I attended Webster Sings a couple weeks ago. That was the first time I attended that event. It was a lot of fun. It was just so simple and kind of heartwarming and fulfilling. It was just really cool event to see. And so that was all my activity in the last couple of weeks. So that's it.
Jean?
Just to pay attention to all the really great local things happening in our business districts for the holiday season. It's a reminder to everybody to shop local when you can. And there's going to be like the tree lighting and everything on Saturday in Old Orchard, and they're having a fun little elf bingo game. So it's really cute, all the efforts that they're embarking on to draw people into the community. And I want to tip my hat to Jordan for all the social media posts and keeping people abreast of like the weather situations, and a lot of very beautiful photographs as well to go with those. So really appreciate that level of communication. Thanks, Jordan. And I think that's it.
Great, thank you.
No updates, either green space nor plan that.
Aaron?
Parks and Rec didn't meet, but there was the at the Ivor Crockett, the open, well, I guess it's not called the open house, was it? But anyway, it was sort of an open park.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, we got participation. We got people out that, and put their dots in the spot and, you know, gave their opinions and what have you. And so, James was pleased. I was hoping to see more. James was pleased, so I was pleased. So,
Pretty happy guy.
Yeah. And we have one more open house for skate park and
We do with the holiday. I don't know that we've confirmed any dates. I
Okay,
hope to
gotcha.
provide that information on Friday, my update, and maybe the Friday page.
okay, sounds good. We are gonna go ahead with mayors for meals. Jordan is hard at work on that as well. I did a beginning of a little video. We are gonna have, if any of the council members would like to join me, we're gonna have a drive-through drop-off on December 20th from 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. So people can stay in their warm cars, and I and whoever the rest of you might like to join me freezing and collecting those things. We can open the building, so if somebody needs to get warmed up or use the facilities, they'll be available. And so the collection area will be down off the parking lot and start on December 11th and will run through the 22nd. But hoping that day on the 20th, that we get quite a bit of participation.
What time did you say there was?
9:30 to 11:30. And then, we had a holiday, so it was pretty light load for all of us, but I did get to spend a little bit of time with the Clark fourth graders who are going to make James a happy guy. I took over some of the skate park options and got their input, and they are thrilled about a new skate park. So, but even the ones that don't skate are thrilled for all the other things they can do with the skate park. All right. So, anybody remember anything now that they want to share?
My niece Evelyn said that she said hello to you.
She did. Yes, she did. She was thrilled to know that I knew you and her mother. So. All right, we'll move on to our topics. The first topic we have is the youth council. You got a memo from me. Just a refresher. We're gonna try this out not as a typical board or commission where we need staff support, but try and do it a little more independently and maybe work out any kinks we have before we finalize. And so we've talked about this a couple times. You've heard from the students. Rather than go through the proposal, is there anything that anybody wants to ask me about it?
Since you asked,
Of course I asked.
just give consideration, or can we give consideration to the youth council actually sitting in a council meeting?
Sure, we can. And I think, the way it's set up, they go to board and commission meetings, they'd be assigned to board and commission and take that back to their own council.
Mhm.
I think it would be great to have some interaction. You're thinking more of the school district model where they have a representative.
Yes.
I mean, we could have one of them be the representative to the city council in the same way they are to a board and commission. The only difference there is that would be twice as many meetings for them to attend as their peers. And so maybe we let them do just the first meeting of the month or something like that.
We just have a update
They do
what
it.
they're doing in their council
Part of our updates they could have, like in the work session, just to do an
work
update.
session
Yeah.
or either in the council meeting. So just to give them a little bit more exposure.
I really like that idea. I think it's a cool idea, but I was just wondering, what's the participation rate in the school district? Because we struggled when we tried to do this with the police and community engagement board.
right.
And we just, and I know it's a whole nother, it's a bird of another feather, but I'm just interested in did the school district struggle maintaining?
No, they always had a junior and a senior. So when the senior rolled off, the junior went up to their spot and they selected another junior. So it was always a moving target with them. And whatever items of concern they had with the school district or with the city, they brought that and gave them their opinion. Just like, for example, the skate park or anything like that. They went back to their
peers.
peers. What do you think about the skate park? They get that information, bring back to us. Yeah. So
So they're like a
it's-
standing item on the agenda.
Yeah.
So they're,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so it's like, okay, now it's
Yeah, not at every meeting, maybe the first meeting of the month. The third, on the second meeting of the month. Just to give them some voice right there inside of the council meeting.
So Emerson, are you saying that that was the model for the police community engagement board, or that was the
Model for the school
That's
district.
for the school? Okay, because I know to David's point, we struggle big time with the
Yeah.
police community engagement board, and if we are to even get to that meeting, so to have their meeting on their commission, plus have somebody assigned to one of these, I could see that getting to be a lot.
I wonder if
one of the
there's,
students.
thank you. I wonder if there's and you're talking a little bit about exposure too, if there's another thing, and that is to have not the same person come report
Right.
to us, but if we have one of them come every month,
Yeah.
then every member of the youth council will have one time that they report to us and then report back to their.
And if
Youth
there's
council.
specific things that we want them to report back to us, here's the list of stuff we want you to look at. Plus whatever they feel that they want to look at.
And then that would give them the opportunity to say, I want to do it on my turn, rather than having one
I
person.
can't go next month.
I can't go next month. Can you
Yeah.
go? Which month works for you?
And there's some things that they're defined to do. They're just not gonna
Yeah,
set their
right.
own agenda entirely. So they get to do some of it, but they are gonna be primarily responsible for figuring out what a middle school engagement activity looks like, as well as helping to point in the youth summit in the fall. So there'll be some other things for them to do. Yes.
I have two questions on it. One, the eligibility, I think those, are they ands? So they would be like they would be a student at a Webster school, nearby, homeschooled, and a Webster resident. So if they're in the high school, but they're not a Webster resident, they wouldn't be eligible for the youth council.
Right. We did let people come to the youth summit.
Sure.
But I think just to be consistent
Just
with
the-
our other boards and commissions, it makes sense.
I just was
for
gonna,
residency requirement.
for my own brain, just
Yeah.
clarify that those are really kind of
Yeah.
ands.
Yeah.
And then on their commission work, I know they're kind of like liaisons and kind of not, like they're encouraged, I think, to interact in the discussion, which is great. Would they be on potentially somebody who could be assigned to a subcommittee, or is that like a step too far?
I think that's up to the board or commission if they want the input at that level, and up to the student themselves if they have the time
Okay.
for that
So
level of
whatever
engagement.
works.
Yeah.
And I also want to add though to that point, there was some valuable information for the kiddos who came here, went to school here and hung out here after school, but grew up in a different community. I thought that was interesting, their perspective, but to stay consistent, I think that's fair, that they're Western residents.
Can they receive any type of credit for participating? Because they can.
So we have not discussed that, and none of the teachers brought that up, because the director of social studies curriculum, as well as teachers at NARICS and Webster, have all seen and commented on this proposal.
Mhm.
They did not bring that up as a possibility. I would say if students want to do that, it's their responsibility to figure it out with the school district.
Nothing else but the volunteer hours they
Yeah.
can get for the A+ program.
Right, and I'm sure this would count for that.
And then would it be excused or they'll be meeting on their own? If they're meeting with the commission, some commissions meet early in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know that we're gonna be able to have representation, and the ones that meet early in the morning, mostly, other than the Arts Commission, the business commissions. And so that may be a gap in where we have them assigned, simply because of the timing of the meetings.
I think it's great. I like the idea.
So then I would entertain a motion for us to accept this proposal and move forward with the youth council for we'll say at least for the calendar year, and then at the end of the calendar year, we can decide what, if any, additional action we want to take.
So moved.
Second.
Katie, or Neil,
to do a roll call?
I think I might as well. Why not?
Mayor Arnold,
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselman.
Yes.
All right. I will start the ball rolling then with our.
Yeah.
And to Jamie too.
Yes.
It's been fun, I tell you.
And I really appreciate you guys incorporating lyrics too. I think that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah.
I appreciate incorporating any high school student,
Yeah.
whether that's a resident and whatever their high school work experience is. But I think all of the kids, including us, can just benefit from their input.
Well, and one thing that, you all may help me with as you think about this is it's easy for us to get in touch with the Webster High School kids. It's easy to get in touch with the Nares kids. How do we do outreach to students that aren't in either one of those institutions? So if you have ideas for me, let me know.
Well, can we start with like the Community Connect and the Webster Kirkwood Times and the, just like
Social media.
a social media to put a call out that this is what we're doing and there's X amount of time.
Yeah, the rollout includes in January as part of our regular newspaper advertisements
Okay.
in the Webster Kirkwood Times to have an announcement that applications are being accepted and to send them to the webpage. So it will go in the Webster Kirkwood Times, at least an announcement. I am hoping that they will be interested in writing some sort of story about that.
Well, I would also think that either the Board of Education or the state should have to maintain a list of students that are of school age but are homeschooled. Because isn't it like a legal requirement that you're supposed to be in school?
Yeah.
So if you're not enrolled in a public school or a private school or something, it seems like either the Board of Education or the school should have a list of the children that are homeschooled.
Okay. Well, as it turns out, we're in our meeting with some leadership of the Board of Education later this week, and maybe I'll see if they have some advice for us.
And then that way you can even send a notice to those parents.
I'm guessing the school district wouldn't share those names with us, but I'm
Maybe they can send
bet
it.
they
Yeah.
would send it on
Yes.
our behalf.
Right.
So.
The other thing is
Great.
like church bulletins and things.
Okay.
Yeah, such an idea.
I can't remember Pastor Danu's daughter,
Gwen.
Gwen. Yeah, so she's a nice resource if she's home to go talk to some students. Because she didn't attend, she lived in Webster, but she didn't attend
Right.
school.
So would you and I have been able to participate in this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, we might not have let you go.
I don't blame you. I would have been causing havoc.
Right.
Then.
Okay, well, let's move on to the new revenue stream action. So we have this both on the agenda here and in the regular session. So Gregory's going to do a few slides for us in the regular session, refresh our memory. He's got a couple new things to share with us. We did set aside some time if we wanted to have any additional discussion now amongst ourselves, or if people had, questions or opinions that they wanted to share now. It's also okay for us to just do the whole thing in the regular meeting if you prefer to do it all at once. We do need to have a brief closed session, which we could do now if we would rather do that. I'm looking for some guidance from council on how you might like to proceed here.
I think doing it in open session makes sense
Yeah.
to me, just
Oh,
because
yes.
it's on the record, and not that this isn't, but it's just, I think it's more formal, especially something of this magnitude. I think it's important to do a formalized meeting.
Yeah, you say, Greg, has some new information that we haven't seen, or?
3 brand new slides for us.
I like this. I like to see those slides, so we can start noodling on it between now
They're
and then.
in.
All right, do you have that presentation available? Gregory, I know that you are on Zoom with us. If you might do at least
The new slides.
the new slides, or if it makes more sense to you to just go ahead through the slides that you have with emphasis on the new ones, that's okay too.
Oh.
I'm happy to. Sorry, it logged me out and logged me back in.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. So Karen, do you have to control this? Is
No,
that-
you can, I think you should be able to control it as a panelist.
It is not letting me, so
Can
I
you
see.
see
He
the
hasn't tried
resume
for a second.
slideshow up there? Do we need to do something with that on the top left there?
In the white box. On the left.
Where?
You know. I talked to Julie. Why? I asked her.
Try that now, Gregory.
She goes, I never wanted to be a part of, like, and now you're just starting.
I think it's three total.
I think you moved the mouse.
Okay, surprised. Try to surprise.
that makes it full screen. No, it's me, Karen. So you're more than welcome, Karen, to move it.
Okay, just tell me when.
He's on plan.
Yeah, you can go ahead and advance it.
Give Central comment.
You can keep going. So go back one. So again, to remind everybody, good evening. I'm down here because I have a cold. So
Thank you.
the economic development sales tax, the ordinance that you have tonight is for a half-cent tax, which is the maximum rate. It's exclusively used for economic development purposes. Let's see, it requires the addition of a board that is presented with and approves a plan that comes to you for final approval. And then we commence the use of the tax at that point in terms of what we're spending the money on, et cetera. Go ahead, Karen. So with respect to this tax, 20% has to be spent on infrastructure. It would, at our current sales tax rates or in revenue, it would bring in approximately 1.4 million. So that means at least 280,000 has to go to infrastructure. So I took a walk, took some pictures. That can include the stormwater, curbs improvements, ADA improvements, different signage, as you can see, for crosswalks and stuff to make things safer in the business districts or in particularly areas of the city, not just the 3 business districts, but beyond that are devoted to economic development. And also the one big thing that it could support, in fact, the whole tax in a year could support, is the parking garage. The repairs to the parking garage, I think Mr. Davis mentioned last time, the estimate is $1.5 million. That's going to come back for us to fix the old Webster parking garage. So this would certainly be helpful for that. Up to 25%, so 350,000 can be used for staff and administration, whether it's decorating the light poles, we have snow on the ground, putting out salt, shoveling the sidewalks, watering the plants, things like that, amongst other things. It can be used for those types of things. So that would be up to $350,000 could be allocated to that type of work. So staff work and different things like that to support the economic development pieces for the city.
Gregory, what does and administration mean?
So staff and administration is obviously the administration piece of that could be costs related to the tax, whether it's legal costs, insurance costs, different aspects of those pieces that the city already is paying for out of the general fund, but things that are administrative costs related to the economic development.
So would that include, like, if we needed additional police officers for the blues festival or the jazz festival, would that be administration or would it not count? towards
Yes,
the-
it would fit under this
uh,
piece. Mhm.
So so the majority of the money is supposed to be on infrastructure. It seems like that.
Well, up to, at least 20% on infrastructure, 80% on everything else. No more than 25% of your revenue can be spent on staff. So it really is geared towards where you're going, Councilmember. Advertising can be a part of, can be a spend to draw people in. One of the specific things that the state law calls out is job training and improvement programs, as just attracting businesses, different things like that, business license administration. There's all sorts of different things that go into how do we continue to invest and reinvest in the businesses and attract people to come to Webster Groves for for economic reasons, to spend money to conduct business, things like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sorry, just another example. This would be citywide and larger than just the business districts. But as you know, the business districts, the holiday marketing is top of mind. A lot of that. Do we hire our own PIO that would help do this, support the business districts so they have their own support staff? It's pretty, I don't want to say wide open, but it definitely is focused at you're supporting economic development. So those tools that we already do, but don't necessarily, I think we do them well on a very small scale. But we could do more. Absolutely.
So those advertising, that type of cost, is that part of the up to 25%?
Yes.
Okay, so are these really the only two categories? The admin up to 25% and then the infrastructure of at least 20%?
These are the only two specific limitations to the tax. In other words, you have to spend 20% of it on infrastructure. You can spend up to 25% on staff and administration, but you don't have to. That's not a requirement. That's your top line limit. And then the rest has to be arguably specifically for economic development.
So do we have examples of something that would be okay on this budget but isn't in one of those two categories?
Come up with a list of items that we've met with Shannon Creighton over, if I'm answering your question. We've got a pretty long list, just a wish list of things that we internally thought of that could be done. So
That aren't infrastructure and that aren't administration, that fall
it could even be land acquisition if there's going to
Okay.
be for economic development
okay,
purposes.
yeah, that wouldn't be infrastructure, it wouldn't be staff and admin, but
Absolutely.
it would be allowable on
Yes.
things.
So that
Even
could
the-
even be where we talked about, and I keep going back to the same example, but again, it's going back to the Pacific Avenue thing. If we were going to do something to take care of that infrastructure there so that you reduce the cost of anybody that we're asking to give us a bid for doing work there, that would be something.
We could certainly do some, yeah.
Even looking at this picture here of the lamp pole, buying those materials doesn't fit into either of these categories, whether it's the banner or the garland, decorations, flowers, flower pots, thinking about the comprehensive plan, supporting a arts incubator. Different things like that, can all be part of this where it's not necessarily spending money on sidewalks and stormwater or for staff to maintain things. So it can go to a whole host of stuff.
Greg, I got two questions. So could those funds be used, say, for example, like replacing the parking lot to hire a general contractor to be over that project so it won't pull away from staff's time to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And then says up to a 0.5% rate. So that's added on to any sales that come as purchased in Webster Grove? This is how that's collected?
Correct. It is part of the sales tax for the city. So any purchases.
Okay.
Citywide.
Citywide.
Gregory, that would also include online purchases that are subject to tax in Webster, right?
Yeah, I'd have to come back to you on that.
Okay,
It's not use tax.
No,
But it's sales tax, you still don't.
Yeah.
sales taxes, yes, not the use tax.
Use tax.
right.
I
But if it's an online purchase,
Correct.
there's always a sales tax.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
There too, so.
Yeah.
Oh, for sales taxes, yeah, online purchases for items, and yes, yes.
Gregory, can you remind me who is on the Economic Development Board at this has?
Sure, the mayor gets to appoint 3 members.
Don't worry, I'll ask you all.
The school district gets to appoint a member and the county gets to appoint a member.
And then who oversees that board? Like, I mean, is it the city's responsibility?
So they would have to go through the normal process of establishing their bylaws and things like that with respect to, appoint a chair, vice chair, secretary, or those different pieces. They would have to go through all that process. The oversight, Councilman, is that the staff prepares a plan. They can alter the plan. They have to have a public hearing so the public can have input. Final plan comes to you all. If you like it, you approve it. We start moving forward. If you don't like it, you don't approve it, and they go back to the drawing board. So,
And I was just wondering, can we do something like, it's gonna take staff time to organize and deal with the board and administer the board. Can we do something similar as what we've done, is like do a 0.2 for employee, and that way the money's coming out of the economic development sales tax and therefore decreases our burden?
We could, and there's several different ways. We didn't dive or prepare a plan, not knowing what council wanted to do, but there's several different ways that we could look at that. Like we have friends in the business districts. Do we have more of a person like that? Do we focus more on the marketing aspect, have someone more with Jordan skills? Just what exactly does that look like? And speaking with Miss Creighton, she shared that there's a couple different options to roll this out. We could have this plan with all of our wish list and things that we wanted, a really defined plan. And by the we, I mean the collective we, these types of projects, things we've heard about from the business districts, community, that sort of thing. We could have that plan going into it before the mayor's appointments, school district, county, and then they would be able to start with a plan. And that seems to be the most successful way. Or all of those people can be appointed and they develop a plan and go through that process. So kind of depends on what the desire is.
But we can give them, this is the council recommendations in that plan.
Well, as I yes, council can give recommendations, but as I understand it, they would really then be their own board. However, 3 would be appointed by everybody.
And they're defined as an advisory council, so we can reject or accept what they're sending to us.
Okay, because that's what I was kind of in my mind. I just kind of recall when we were talking about that they're the ones that determine basically directing where this is gonna be used. But that was my question. Then how do we engage in what we want that to look like, and to what extent is that incorporated into the direction that they come back with? They're directing what we said we wanted to see, or they're saying, this is where we want to see, what do you think?
In that half-cent rate, that applies citywide. So like Yorkshire, for instance, it would apply to them as well.
All right, Gregory, I think we can continue here.
great, great conversation. Karen, go ahead.
You got it.
I'm sorry.
Perfect. Thank you.
I got this horrible scratchy throat. It just, next slide. So sorry.
We have already covered all of this about revenue or expenditure types, so go ahead. Next slide. This is about the board, so you can consult this. So we, again, just discussed it. Go ahead, Karen. Process. We can keep going. Well, I promised to try to be as short and sweet as possible. So fire sales tax, we're already at a quarter. The ordinance for you to consider this evening takes it up to the full half cent, which is the maximum for the fire protection sales tax. It is strictly limited to operations of the city's fire department. Go ahead, Karen. So 100% for fire operations, this would take us from 700,000 to approximately 1.4 million a year. Currently, out of the general funds, we spend about 5 million on personnel, 400,000 on operations. That does not include the fire's pension costs. That's obviously funded by the property taxes. However, we do have capital commitments coming up, which this could be used for. We've made a commitment to buy a new pumper truck, which we've put $100,000 down in 2 years. That next 1.2 million, the rest of that is going to come due. And so this sales tax could be used, the revenue could be set aside for use of the purchase of the remaining of that purchase of that fire truck. Could be used for maintenance and gear, certain things that are currently in our SIP plan. We pull back out of the SIP plan, freeing up money for our other priorities and other departments, and have the fire's sales tax essentially being set aside for those things right now that we use capital improvement tax money for, to be allocated to the fire sales tax, and have that support these capital expenditures going forward that the fire department continues to need. Go ahead, Karen. I think that's it. Oh, Mayor and I discussed this. She mentioned this at the last meeting, I should say. And I know that it came up in the press about our tax rates. So there on the side, we're very competitive. We're not Brentwood's the highest. We're on the low ends in terms of, that's the city tax there that you're looking at on the left. If we increase it with these two, it would bring our rate up to 9.988. However, I wanted to point out to everyone and to our residents and the broader public, our rate for the whole city, we don't add anything on to this. We don't have a TDD. We don't have a CID. Our sister cities around us all do have some version of this. So if you look at this list, I don't know exactly where all of these places are, but I'm sure that you all are familiar with some of them. You could probably name some of the stores in these different areas. Whether in Brentwood, it's out on Egger, or the market at McKnight in Rock Hill, the sales tax is 11.23% there.
It is.
We're still, even with the addition, we're going to be lower than by a quarter, if not a half or even more, than all of these different shopping districts that are around us.
And would that also include assuming that the quarter-cent sales tax on fire is also approved?
That's fire and economic development. Yes, that's if you approved both. If you put it to the voters and they approved both, it's obviously the voters' decision. That is incorporated in that 9.98. So we'd still be lower than all these other shopping districts.
And so that's the tax rate that'll be charged on purchases within Webster Groves.
Correct. We're already at 9.238. Now, again, most of that is state and county, right? Most of that's not us. We're 1.5% of that. So I shouldn't say that. of the 9.23, 1.5, that's us right now. So
I mean, to kind of go back, these CIDs and the TDDs, we're not able to do a community improvement district because our business districts aren't contiguous. So this is our version or the next best way to help improve our business districts with this citywide tax increase.
true. I mean, you could do a citywide CID. It just becomes very complicated.
Right. Yeah.
So
All right, so we will, discuss pros and cons from the council's point of view in the regular meeting. Gregory, thank you for the additional
Thank you.
information.
Yeah.
Especially this last slide, I think is really illustrative.
Yeah.
my pleasure.
So I think we do have time to do, because we just have a very short,
Closed session.
yeah, sorry, I'm writing and like you,
Okay.
Emerson, we can't write and talk at the same time. We have a short closed session. Councilmember Bliss, would you mind making that motion, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to call for an executive closed session related to attorney-client privilege communications, Missouri statute 610.021 subsection 1 and Missouri statute 610.021 subsection 13.
Second.
Councilmember Bliss?
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer?
Yes.
Mayor Arnold?
Yes.
Oh.
All right, so that it concludes our work session. We will rejoin everyone. All right, welcome to the December 2nd meeting of the Webster Groves City Council. We welcome all your questions, ideas, and comments. If you are in attendance here with us and would like to make a comment, we're going to ask you to fill out a speaker card located over by the door. If you are on Zoom and you'd like to make a comment, please use the raise your hand function at the appropriate time, and we will call on you and make you eligible to speak at that time. We're going to ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes so we can make it through our agenda within a reasonable time. And we will start, as usual, with a call of the roll.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Arnold?
Here.
Councilmember Bliss?
Here.
Councilmember Franklin?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Alexander?
Here.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd?
Here.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer? Here.
All right, we'll start with our remarks from the community and visitors. The first speaker's card I have is from the Honorable Judge James Whitney, who is our former municipal court judge. Welcome back.
Read the article about
You gotta turn your microphone on.
court system in the Webster Times, and if they said bad things about me, I just, watching TV. But they named Diane Reinhardt, and the clear implication of that article was that she had something to do with this dysfunction that's caused 4,500 warrants to be withdrawn. Nothing could be further from the truth. Terry Bales and Diane Reinhardt were efficient, humane, and they took their job seriously. I was a judge for 26 years. For the great majority of that time, the court ran like a well-oiled machine. And my hope, when I could see the end of the tunnel, was that I would be able to turn over a court that functioned the way it functioned when they were clerks. Sadly, I was completely unsuccessful in that. And I attribute it to the high degree of turnover of clerks after Diane and Terry left. And I haven't obviously gone through and seen what warrants were the problem, but I can guarantee you they were after their tenure. And it distressed me a great deal to see her name in the paper. Again, I think the high degree of turnover was the problem, and that's not completely unique to the court, okay? So, very simple. I'm here to defend Diane Reinhardt's name, okay? And I just want you as a city officials to know that. And so, thank you. I'll go back and watch TV.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
The second card I have in front of me is for Mr. Dave Buck.
Hello. Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. I just have one question for the council tonight, but I'll set it up by saying that my favorite Martin Luther King quote is darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. It's kind of a message that we kind of need these days. Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. I was 14 years old. The national holiday was implemented in 1986. Webster Grove's first community Martin Luther King celebration was on Sunday before the Monday of the holiday in 1995. The last celebration was 2019. It was canceled 2 years for COVID. For the last 4 years after COVID, 2022, 23, 24, 25, we have not held a Martin Luther King community celebration for 4 years. You know what those celebrations, I know Emerson was there. I've seen him there a lot. I was there for many of them. We gathered here at City Hall around 4:30. We then marched, kind of like Selma to Montgomery, down to Steger, which is now Gibbons Elementary School. We had a light supper in the cafeteria, and then a very inspirational program, a true community program in the auditorium with speeches, student essays. We held hands, we hugged, we sang choir songs together, regardless of race, creed, color, age, gender. This year, next year, the national holiday is Monday, January the 19th. Sunday before is January the 18th. My question is the city planning to do something, the same thing or similar events from a standpoint of community event? I've done some market research on this to a lot of people. People would like this event to come back. And if the city doesn't do it, we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. If you are joining us via Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment, would you please raise your hand or use the raise your hand function? All right, I do not see any hands raised among our attendees. So is there any new business that any members have? No. All right, then we'll move on to our regularly scheduled new business, and that is the new revenue stream discussion that we've had on and off all year and are continuing from our last meeting. We have two bills before us. And so I think what we'll do is go ahead and have our discussion, since I imagine our discussion is going to include both bills before we move to first and second reading. We have Mr. Donovan with us, still all masked up. And so please go right ahead. You went through some of this with us, but I'm glad to see that we have the recommendation slide here.
This is thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. This is my final slide and just formal recommendation, Director of Finance, as well as the staff recommending that you put to the voters the two ordinances in front of you to increase the sales taxes, the economic development sales tax and the fire sales tax. There are plenty of admonitions here. I was thinking of my grammar school teachers and using active voice instead of passive. So please, but these are some of the things that it will do. And the benefit of these is not simply as has been talked about in terms of, oh, we have a deficit and things like that, which is, been out in the paper and et cetera. But these are real opportunities to continue to invest in the city, partly for the fire department, but when you think about it, as I mentioned earlier, if you have extra revenue to pay for the fire truck, that sets aside other revenue for other investment in the city, whatever that happens to be. And the economic development sales tax is really all about reinvestment, bringing more people to the city and improving their experience, driving economic growth, and making this a center of economic vitality. So that's my formal recommendation. I will take any questions. If you don't have any, I'm going to go home and get some Sudafed. So
To be clear, if anyone is watching this recording or joining us in the regular meeting and hasn't been in the work session, we're talking about a 1/2 cent. The recommendation is a 1/2 cent increase for economic development sales tax and a 1/4 cent increase for the fire sales tax.
that is correct.
Okay.
I wonder if, could we see the slide before this? In
Yeah, I
this
was gonna
meeting
ask,
too?
could show that one to
The
compare.
comparison slide.
Sure.
Yeah, that
I
one.
think that would be helpful to have in this meeting as well. It shows that, where our kind of base rate is compared to our neighboring cities, but also how our rates would compared to kind of the effective rate in a lot of those neighborhoods with different taxing districts. That, I just think that's a good perspective to.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
There.
Yes, and for those watching on the right-hand side is several of the, in our sister cities, community improvement districts, the taxing districts. And I am sure that those locations are familiar to Webster Groves residents and those who like to go shopping. And they know they can think of various stores in those locations. And this is simply to illustrate that even with a 0.75% increase in our sales tax rate, we are still lower by at least a 1/2 cent from all of these other shopping districts and areas, which is not just shopping and restaurants and anything in those, however those are defined geographically, any restaurant, any business in there, that's the sales tax that they're charging. So
Do you happen to know, I was just wondering, the new Crestwood development with Deerberg's, what their sales tax rate?
I don't have that off. I don't know that. No, I can find out if you'd like.
No, I was just wondering, just because it's a new development, I was just wondering if they had a TDD or CID or something. I'm sure they do.
I would be surprised if they didn't.
Mhm.
So
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Donovan?
You've already made the recommendation, which is both of them. So this might not be a fair question, and it might be Dr. Peoples' question. But if we only did one, is there one that city administration recommends over the other?
Wow, that's a stumper of a question. I appreciate it. They're so different.
different,
They are so different. I mean, we've talked for quite some time about the increase in cost, whether for public safety. The equipment alone, as Mr. Donovan said, we have a new pumper approved where we've paid the $100,000, but now we've got the 1.1 million that will come due in 2 years. We're going to continue to need tactical and operational apparatus equipment like that. So the fire sales tax, as well as increased personnel costs, would really help support the general fund, as well as make sure the firefighters have the things that they need. So that's incredibly important, but worlds apart and very different from the economic sales tax. So I really appreciate the question, but they do very different things. We've also heard loud and clear from a lot of our business community with the various business districts that they wanted to see some sort of sales tax to help improve economic development, and they're thinking big picture. Now, true enough, they were looking at it in terms of a SID, and we had those conversations meetings ago, just for people watching, so I won't go into all that. And a SID really did not fit the needs. So what we've brought back and proposed, which is citywide, does fit that need, I do believe. So they're just two very different types of opportunities, and I do believe that they are opportunities.
I know I asked this question before. When's the last time that we had a tax increase?
The sales tax increase?
Yeah.
Didn't we approve one for Prop S back for the fire? It was for the loggers, right?
The loggers increase was in 2017, and that was a real estate tax increase. The last
Public safety.
the public safety
Key.
one,
That's
Yes.
me.
I asked, had asked city clerk for the resolutions for the capital improvement tax. That was the 1999. Stormwater and sewer, stormwater and parks was 1996 or 7, somewhere in there. So, but I'm not sure about
Tax?
the use tax was in 2022. So the local use tax, but that's online purchases. That wasn't affecting what is being done at the local.
I believe the fire sales tax, I'm doing quick Google, passed in 2004. So that might have.
That's the date I kind of remember, 2004. I think that's the date you gave us last time I asked that question was 2004.
So
Yeah, so, it's looking at the infrastructure improvements that's needed for Webster Groves that we've really, I'm not going to say ignore, but delaying for so long. We need it. We just need to get those funds in to give some relief to the general fund and then make the improvements around the city, sidewalks, street improvements, sewers, everything, just to start investing back into the city.
When we look at the economic development tax, and you were sharing with us on one of the previous slides exactly where there had to be monies applied in specific areas. While the fire tax is clearly for the fire department, for fire safety, is there a requirement within that category where those funds need to be applied, like to a truck, to a pumper, to a safety specific? It's just in
fire operations. So anything that we can justify as fire operations is what it can be spent. So the fire pumper truck and equipment clearly required for operations. So those would be fully in line with the tax purpose. So as an example. But yeah, that's strictly fire operations. That's all you can use, all we can use that money for.
Okay.
And it's just improving the services that we're going to be delivering to the community.
Right.
Can we let Mr. Donovan have a seat and starting our discussion here? I don't think we probably should let you go yet because who knows, but
So, all right.
yes, thank you. Well, all right, so they are intertwined. So I think probably we ought to have our discussion now, and then we can do first and second reading of each of the two bills. And obviously the vote for those keeping score at home happens with the third reading, which would be at our next council meeting. So anyone want to dive in immediately?
I have reservations, maybe because this is new ground for me, but I know how important this economic sales tax is. I know how important identifying a revenue stream for us is, and that our business communities would really benefit. We would all benefit from investment, with this sales tax revenue stream. And I talked about this a lot at our last meeting. I'm just worried about the going to voters for a tax increase, to approve a tax increase right now with the cost of everything being so high. So I don't know if that is going to put me in a no vote category, but it is just something that I just needed to express and share, that I'm paying close attention to, and as we all are, to what's going on economically right now, and the uncertainty of the federal landscape, things at the federal landscape. Are we like in some sort of bubble? I mean, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm just a little bit cautious.
But yeah, I'm gonna, do you want to go ahead, David?
Along similar lines of the councilwoman, I think we have to take politics into account here, and I think putting both of them on the ballot is a fool's errand. I think that they're likely to both fail. I would rather us put all our cards behind one and proceed. My vote would be for the fire quarter-cent sales tax. Rather than the economic development tax. One, I'm not a fan of the economic development tax. I would much rather see a TDD, but I think how I'm looking at this is we need one to pass. I want one to pass, and my vote would be for the fire tax rather than the economic development tax.
I'll go ahead and make a comment here. I think my concern with the economic development sales taxes, I'm thinking about Prop W and the way we took on Prop W. We had a very clearly defined set of ways that money was going to be spent for our community. And I don't feel like we're in the same place with any economic development sales tax, that we don't, it's going to be hard to say to the voters, well, we're going to do economic development broadly defined. And I think to think in terms of spending some more time on this and coming up with an economic development plan that we are then asking people to fund specific things or specific aspects of economic development makes sense to me, but that's not, I don't think we're ready for that. The other thing is we have the comprehensive plan. And if we're talking about economic development, we have a lot of things to fix in our zoning and our regulations related to the comprehensive plan that will impact economic development, which might make better use of funds that would come out of an economic development sales tax. So for that, I feel like we're a little bit out of order in my mind. For the fire sales tax, I agree with Councilmember Franklin. It makes the most sense to me because, I mean, I spent some time with budgets again today, as I often do. And just in my quick back of the envelope calculations, we've had a 30% increase in fire expenditures over the last 5 years. And that's more than we've had for police, more than we've had for anything else. And part of that is about collective bargaining and the contracts that have been awarded. Part of it is about the equipment that we need. So it makes more sense to me to go to the voters and say, okay, we've had these increases in fire. Are you willing to continue to pay for those? Or do we have to begin to think about a different way of looking at how we do fire protection? Because I don't think that there's not a good way right now for us to think about rolling back those expenses without thinking about different kinds of personnel differences, whether that's fire, whether that's police, whether that's other places.
I was just going to add, Mayor, I appreciate your statement. I think it's a both and on the fire department. It is going to be unsustainable for us to continue to operate the way that we're currently operating our fire department in the long term. And so not only do we need to have revenue streams currently, but we need to be looking at ways to consolidate and decrease costs collectively in this region.
Yeah.
And I think fire and police are the two biggest drivers of operating expenses in most municipalities, and they should be the two biggest component parts of any consolidation.
I know when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago and we were looking at both of them together, but one of the things that I expressed then, and I am still in that arena, but I'm a little different because in terms of leaning, the argument toward the fire department makes more sense because my other concern was between, Prop W, what we did with that, and just going back and going back and going back to the taxpayers for an increase in taxes to cover this or that. And because we have completed the comprehensive plan and we're talking about different ways to increase revenue and things that we can look at that were incorporated into the comprehensive plan, until we've been able to do that, anything else going back, I think with the economic development plan at this point would be attuned to piecemealing, as opposed to having some time to kind of look at some of these different potential revenue development or revenue generating options that we need to talk about, that we mentioned in the comprehensive plan, and try to look at that comprehensively instead of pieces, which I think taking part of that with the economic development plan might be contributed to that approach. I mean, I think we need it, and I like the idea that we still end up less than any of our neighboring communities, but I would still also like to have an opportunity to have a more holistic approach to what that development of revenue sources might be, taking into consideration what we've documented in our comprehensive plan. That makes sense.
They are so different. I mean, they do very different things. I think one of the things that with the fire is I don't want to say plug and play, but I mean, we know what the expenses are. We have defined expenses. We know exactly where that money would go and how that would support our fire, department and the city in general. So I think that's kind of an easier one to understand, and it's kind of ready to go. I like the academic development one in that it supports our business community, which supports our tax base, which supports all of us. I agree that maybe I would like to see it a little bit more defined as well. I think would be easier to sell to ourselves and to the public if we had a little bit more planning behind that, which I think, going back to the traffic district, which isn't on here, is kind of the same thing. Like, I like the idea of the, Kirkwood's traffic, just, transportation district, but we're just not, that would take more time to kind of bake. So, I think they are really different. I appreciate the economic development one and how that would support our businesses. I'm just not sure if we're quite there yet, but the fire one, I think would be easier for me to support at this point in time. It'd be hard to do both.
I was just going to add one thing to it, just so it's on the record. One thing that I fear about the fire tax is that during the next collective bargaining, they're going to say, well, there's 700,000 extra dollars. In other words, they think that the pie has gotten larger rather than their share of the pie for the city of Webster Groves has just been consolidated into a different revenue stream. And so I think that it's important for it to be acknowledged that we are certainly going to face collective bargaining arguments that there's more money for fire. And the question is, how does council and the city hold the line on that? But I do think that it is a fear of mine. And we're going to be in the same, I fear to a certain degree that we could be in the same position because they will just eat up that $700,000 rather than it being taking the burden out of other pieces of the pie.
Well, that was really where my question was coming from, in terms of, I know that tax is specifically for fire safety and it's for use with the fire department and that safety, but that's where that question was coming from. Is there a required place where those funds can be used within that realm because of that very concern? I mean, it's a concern.
I think to that point, one of the things that we need to really go back and talk about some more, and we've done this throughout the year, and we especially did it during the budget process, but that was, half a year ago now, was to really talk about why we are where we are right now, right? Because we've come from a couple of years where we had surpluses to years where we do not. And one of the things that is important to recognize is the pool sales tax, the local option sales tax, the public safety tax, and the fire sales tax. All of them are bringing less revenue And the only reason sales tax revenue is okay is because of the use tax. So when the firefighters say there's more money to be had, well, the tax that we've used to rely on has been drifting down. And so, this is not, this is about how do we think in terms of what's best for the entire city, I think. And I think it's going to be up to council and the city manager and those bargaining to hold a line, that this is really about the totality of public safety, not just fire, not just police, because public safety is also public works. It's other things as well. So I don't want to lose sight of that.
Since being on the city council, those are the two items that we've always talked about we need. Supporting our businesses more and how do we create revenue. And I believe back in May, when we looked at this, again, it's not the first time that we're seeing it. We want to do more. We have our comprehensive plan that's laid out. In order for that plan to be effective, we have to put the revenue and the resources in it to make it work. True enough, we look at some of our surrounding municipalities, they're doing well because they have a heavy business base. And that's one thing Webster don't have. So we're supporting our current business base and trying to attract more business has always been a topic that we said we wanted to do. And as far as the fire sales tax, I'm all in favor of that. It's a service that's going to be given back to the community. What they put in, they'll be getting out. It's just services that we need to uphold. We talked about a few years ago when we got the one fire truck. We were start pouring money into an engine, and we was almost with a third or 2/3 to having a new fire truck, but it was too late. We had to fix it and get it out on the street. So those are the type of things that I think we need to focus on to make sure that we don't put ourselves back into that situation, putting one off versus the other. I just love the idea of supporting our businesses, see what we can do for them and how we can make that grow. And I'm all in favor of getting equipment for the fire department. In favor of them getting the equipment and the tools to do their job versus trying to hire more people. So I think we need to improve the equipment that our public safety officials use to make sure Webster stays safe. So I'm in favor of both.
I feel like, I think what I'm hearing, like Karen mentioned, like is this going out for and correct me if I'm wrong in this summary, but going out for the economic sales tax is like you want to see the comprehensive plan or the outline of what is possible, like with the comp plan, more defined. Because I mean, that's kind of, when you said that, that's kind of what kind of crystallized in my head. Like, are we putting the cart before the horse? And again, I'm just reluctant to go to the voters to ask for a tax increase. And the mayor said this as well, like without having clearly defined what we might be able to spend it, knowing full well that this is on the horizon. This is not a never, but we definitely need to go to the voters for this because our business community needs it. But is April the right time for it? Or without a defined list of things? And additionally, and this just popped into my head, the comp plan, this is not the time for this discussion, but we need to figure out, we cannot slow walk understanding the codes that we need to go through. That is a great use of the
reserve funds to have somebody come through and do that so that we can get this list identified of what voters could look at and that we can bring to them and then go to them with the economic sales tax.
I mean, I think we do have things we can spend the revenue from the economic sales development tax. Having been involved with the business districts for my entire time on council, BDC, I think I've been on every district. It's always about how can we support our businesses so that they can support the community and keep us viable and competitive with our neighbors. And I think when you look at the list of the other CIDs and TDDs, those are newer developments that are in the surrounding municipalities. And I think what our charm and authenticity comes from is being able to support and renew and renovate our assets. The comprehensive plan, I think we are able to find things to put in place, let's say a year or two from now. But in the meantime, we have a failing parking structure in the middle of Old Webster. There's other infrastructure things that could help improve our districts. We could perhaps look at Yorkshire, which is identified in the comprehensive plan and has been neglected or, has not been enhanced for quite some time. And I think there is a lot of value in investing in our business districts to make it more of a destination within the region. And same with fire. I do think that is something that we're always thinking about and talking about, and this would maybe relieve the general fund if we did have a little bit of additional revenue to support the districts. I am in support of not piecemealing this and just asking for both of these at this time.
But I think that we're also gonna, if that's the case, because I do agree that there is a need for what both of them provide. But if we're gonna go out right now, we need to go out with the clear message that we're coming again. Because the until we look at, a full look at the things, at the end of the day, we don't have the benefit that a lot of our surrounding communities have in terms of their commercial districts, in terms of their commercial revenue sources and what have you. We're actually kind of limited to what does exist. So I agree with what you're saying and giving them whatever to lift them up. But if we're going to the community with both of these now, there has to be a clear indication to them that we're going to be back, as we continue looking at the things that need to be done or that we've stated needed to be addressed in the comprehensive plan that we can address with this
And the other thing that we haven't mentioned in this meeting about the economic development sales tax is that it is prescriptive. We have to do at least 20% of that revenue, put it back into infrastructure. So that could be anywhere from 20 to 100% of it, 1 year. But we also can help put it towards administration and staff to help, that time that's invested that we're putting in now into those districts that can again relieve the general fund. So I think there is a plan in place, and I think there's lots of things as we started with the recreation vote. There were ideas that came up that were implemented, and we did a lot of community engagement to figure out what those projects were. And so we do have a little bit of time between now and April to do some community engagement, try to find some priorities to talk about in addition to some of the other wish list things that we can do.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes, please.
So thank you all for the conversation. So staff have worked really hard on developing that list of things that the economic development sales tax could support. Now, do we have a plan in terms of page 1 through 10? This is, being able, we do not, but I do want to, and regardless of what council does, I want to share that the work that staff has been doing behind the scenes since we had that first meeting and received direction. So we have taken many of those items that we've heard the business districts, to Councilwoman Bliss's point, the parking garage, some of our stormwater projects that would fit within there. We do have a very developed comprehensive list of projects, costs, that sort of thing. This just was not the meeting to share that because council's furthering the discussion. But should council decide to move forward, we are ready to launch. And you're absolutely right. We would need to really share that with the public, much like what we did with Prop W, in terms of what would that mean. The other piece I want to share is regarding the comprehensive plan. Most of those pieces, or I will say a lot of the pieces within the comprehensive plan, moving forward with the RFP, if we get the consultant to help us with the zoning, all of that, that goes to economic development. The economic development tax could help pay for us to launch and implement the comprehensive plan. So I just wanted to share that many of them are tied together and they don't have to be looked at discretely.
See, this is where I struggle with the economic sales tax because, well, despite all its flaws, one of the fun, I do believe that the pooled sales tax in St. Louis County is one of the best inventions that we've done. And the economic sales tax is saying, well, it's for Webster Groves only. And I know other municipalities do it, but doesn't it just create more competition, more us versus them, when we should really be looking at the pooled sales tax and trying to raise all ships?
But we are, by more people, what's contributed to sales tax pool from our city, we get more back based on our population. So whatever else more we sell, it benefits us times 3. So I think it's not straight competition. It's more pulling us together.
Mhm. Shop in Webster, let our rate be lower.
Yeah.
Well, it is lower. I mean, I think it's a good marketing strategy. I'm not a marketist, but like a marketing strategy. But I mean, it is cheaper to shop in Webster Groves, and I don't see that too often. And I think it's an interesting thought process. But nevertheless, I agree with what you're saying, Councilwoman, and I appreciate it. I just think putting both on the ballot, I think, is really going to create more competition rather than and potentially ensure the failure of both rather than the passage of at least one.
Dr. Peoples, if you're comfortable, it would be nice to share that list that you all have worked on, or at least I'd like to see it.
Sure.
So I can understand a little bit more about what staff has in mind.
Absolutely. And so I will Friday.
That'd be great.
Catch it.
That would be great.
Excellent.
All right. So I think we need to proceed with the first and second reading for each of these. So I'm going to I'm sorry, I didn't mean to prematurely cut anyone off.
No, I think you're good.
You're
Okay.
good.
So I'm going to ask Councilmember Hasselmeyer if you could call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9293, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9293.
Second. Bill 9293, first reading. An ordinance imposing a sales tax for the economic development purposes, creating the Economic Development Tax Board of the City of Webster Groves, Missouri, and calling an election in the City of Webster Groves, Missouri, to authorize such sales tax.
Right. I think we've had our discussion and we will continue that discussion at our next meeting, but I think we can go ahead with the second reading.
Bill 9293, second reading. An ordinance imposing a sales tax for economic development purposes, creating the Economic Development Tax Board of the City of Webster Groves, Missouri, and calling for an election in the City of Webster Groves, Missouri, to authorize such sales tax.
All right, Councilmember Alexander, could you call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9294, please?
Yes, I'd like to call for the first and second reading of Bill number 9294.
Second.
Bill 9294, first reading. An ordinance calling for an election in the City of Webster Groves, Missouri, to increase the city's existing fire protection sales tax.
All right, once again, we will revisit this at third reading in our next meeting. We can have additional discussion at that time. If we could have the second reading, please.
Bill 9294, second reading. An ordinance calling for an election in the City of Webster Groves, Missouri, to increase the city's existing fire protection sales tax.
All right, would anyone like to remove the minutes from the consent agenda? No? Okay. Councilmember Franklin, could you call for its approval, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the approval and adoption of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yeah.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes.
Hmm.
All right, we have not made any appointments to boards and commissions this evening, and I believe we are adjourned.